unstable in all she does. Let me say that again. A double-minded mom is unstable in all she does. You have to know what your goals are for your child. You have to make that decision. A ship that doesn't have a route to go on doesn't go anywhere. Your bottom line gifts, the values you want to give them no matter what, you have to be purposeful and focused on modeling those gifts for your child. I promise you, when a child is born, every parent wants their children to have good values, to have vintage values, to have Christian values. As head of school at Calvary Christian School in Pacific Palisades, I worked with movie stars, CEOs of companies, producers, directors, multimillionaires, and even when they weren't Christians, they wanted their children to have Christian values, vintage values, the same values that you wrote down that we all treasure for our children. I think most of you know Charlie Sheen. Charlie and his wife, at that time, Denise Richards. 2 little girls, Sam and Lola, were at my school. Charlie came to Father's Day brunch, and he looked me in the eye and said, "Teresa, I'm so glad my girls are at this Christian school because I want them to have Christian values." Charlie Sheen, are you kidding? Okay, my point is, every parent desires that for their children. So the question is, how do we instill those values? How do we stick to our convictions and make sure it happens? And we don't get caught up in the world and waver in doing what's right. It's not good enough just to write them down. It's not good enough just to say, I want to instill Christian values, vintage values in my child. We say we want them to have honesty and patience and kindness. We want to do more than just name those values. We have to, what's the word? Model. Model. Remember your models today. The qualities that we desire to give our children. I want to challenge you to be a role model of the very qualities that you have starred on your card. Now you may want to go home and rethink, refine those values after you've thought about it a little bit. You may want to go over them with your husband. You may want to knock someone out because you don't think you can be that valued perfectly. So maybe that's not the area of modeling you want to do. But we want you to think about whatever you choose, you have to be the movie star modeling those values in your child's life. Let me give you an example. Let's say you chose patience as one of the values that you want your child to have. You have to be a model of patience. I went to one of the last Storm games, Lake Elsinore Storm baseball games. I went in the bathroom, and this little girl was washing her hands. She's about 4 or 5, and her mom said, "Will you hurry up? You're just taking your own sweet time, and I'm going to go watch the game." Now, do you think she would have said that to you or one of her best friends? No. So, it's your responsibility to model appropriate behavior so that your children can see and hear and believe in the vintage values that you want to give them. Children do as they see, not as they're told. If you want your child to be mindful of others, you must be mindful of others. If you want your child to be happy, you've got to smile without hesitation. Laugh a lot. Enjoy your children. If you want your child to follow the rules, you need to follow the rules. How fast you drive, you have to be exemplary. If you want your child to be honest, you need to be honest. How honest are you about what you tell your husband about how much money you spend after your child is at the store? If you want to be respectful to others, your child will be respectful to others, you need to be respectful to your husband and everyone else. I mentioned those husbands, and that's a whole other topic we need to explore. Yeah. But today, let's work on the children. Kids hear it all, and they see it all. And as moms, we set a tone each day when they wake up. We can give them love and affection and start them off with a great day. Or we can begin the day by anxiously hurrying our children with a worried and even angry expression. "We're going to be late if you don't hurry up." David Elkind wrote a book many years ago called The Hurried Child. I'd encourage you to read that. It has repercussions that last a lifetime for children who are hurried all the time. As moms, our words can impact our family in powerful ways. The Bible says death and life are in the power of the tongue. Proverbs 12:18 says, there's one who speaks rashly like the thrust of a sword. Has anyone ever spoken to you in a way that felt like somebody knifed you? James 3:5 is one of my favorites. Well, not my favorite, but it's very mindful. So also the tongue is a small thing, but what enormous damage it can do. Mary and Brenda shared with me that a book written by Cameron Bure was one of the inspirations for your theme. And I contacted Candace to see if she could come and speak to you today. But she couldn't. She's really busy right now. But unfortunately, while she couldn't be here, she really wanted you to know that she cares passionately about how you're raising your children. Candace is a role model herself with her children and for her children. So she wanted to share some thoughts with you about being a modern mom, which she is, who instills vintage values.
Hi, I'm Cameron Bure, and I'm so happy that you're here at this Mom2mom's group. I was excited when Teresa emailed me. She was such a huge part of my kids' lives. She's such a valuable resource, and you are so blessed to be able to hear her speak. We got you for many years because she was the principal at the school that my kids went to, and she just loved on all of the kids there, and I know how special she was in my children's lives. Anyway, I was excited when she emailed me and she told me that my book, Balancing It All, was one of the resources that you guys will be using, and that was so cool. I wish I could actually come and be there, but I'm in the middle of filming some movies. But I just wanted to share a little bit with you about some of the most important things in my life as a mom. A group like you're in right now, the Mom2mom's group, they're so important. I know how important they were when my kids were little, and they're still important to me today as my kids are teenagers, because it's those small groups that really help you grow in your walk with Christ. They help keep you focused on what's truly important when life gets so busy and so crazy. And the friendships and the community that you have with Christ within those groups is invaluable, because that's where you should be able to open up your heart and talk about the things that might be scary or difficult, maybe even shameful at times. And there's no judgment there. There's more women in the same boat that you're at a moment in your life and your faith. And when we share and we reveal some of those hard truths in our life, so that we can collectively find answers and results and hope and motivation and encouragement from one another, well, that's what a group like this is all about. So I'm really glad that you're here. I am a busy mom of 3 kids. I have a 16-year-old daughter, Natasha, and 2 boys. Lev is 14 and Max is 12 years old. And of course, my husband, Val, we've been married for 18 years. So I'm juggling a lot of things. I do work full-time, although my season of work can be really intense for several months, and then I could end up having a whole year off without much work. So I'm pretty busy right now. I'm producing and starring in a couple of films. I'm writing my book, but I'm also juggling being a mom and being a wife. And so a lot of us want to know, well, how do you do it all? How do you do it all well? And my answer to that is, we can do it all well, but we can't do it well all at the same time. It's just too much, and that's why prioritizing is so vital and so important. I talk about this little story in one of my books. It's about a glass jar, and there's a teacher that is filling